Hello YouTube, Devin here again with one of my favorite helmets to come out of that awesome German-American mashup we love so much. This is the German M62 stahlhelm, well, West German M62 stahlhelm. Germany was having an identity crisis at this point in time when this thing came out. So we'll get right into it. Now this is pretty much an M1 shell, alright? The only thing is they were manufactured in Germany and they're a little bit smaller overall than the American M1 shells because they didn't need to accommodate for a liner because the Germans put a liner that is fixed to the shell instead of having a removable liner like the American ones. But I'll show you the liner later. The shell here, as you can tell though, is kind of this gray-green color, and it's got sand in it instead of like the American ones, which have cork or sawdust in them. The sand is a lot smaller grit than the cork, and it creates a smoother shell appearance, and it's supposed to help kind of keep the helmet from being shiny, but they put linseed oil in the paint to kind of help waterproof the helmet and keep it from rusting and everything like that, and that just made the helmet shiny, so it kind of counteracts the whole point of putting sand in it, and you hardly ever see these without covers anyways. But it's a nice helmet, and we'll compare it to an American one later. Get into the liner here. Now the liner is pretty much, when it comes down to it, the same thing as a German World War II stahlhelm. It's got tongues with the vent holes in it, and the only difference really from a German stahlhelm is it's adjustable here in the back, and it has these little forehead dimples cut out of it for improved ventilation and moisture wicking. Now, this helmet is permanently affixed in this helmet, unlike the American ones, and it has a 3-point chin strap that connects here to this one swivel bail in the back, whereas the American ones only have a 2-point, so one on each side. It's a very comfortable, very stable helmet. The Germans always seem to take our shit and make it better, which just makes everyone look bad. But this helmet, the liner is held in place by this one rivet at the top that's protected by this foam pad, so that way, because the rivet sticks out a little bit, that way in a blast, for some reason, if your head was to slip through this liner, it wouldn't jam into your head. But there's a plastic shell inside of here, and you can see it here at the rear. That goes all the way around to the front here, and the leather hooks over it, and that's all held in place by that one rivet up there at top. So, and the chin strap is held on by, the side ones are held on with 2 sets of rivets, and the rear one has that 1 set of rivets so it can move and swivel a little easier. The chin strap is 100% cotton, and it's adjusted with these rounded wire form swivel bails. And this is the lug for the chin strap, and it's made out of blackened brass, like pretty much everything else, which gives it corrosion resistance. And this is a really ingenious design chin strap, and it was copied by a lot of people later in various versions of their helmets. Now, the reason that makes it great is right here. These 2 side pieces, the chin strap, that connect to complete the chin strap. Now, this one right here, so right here, would be used to just for like training operations or day-to-day use and stuff like that, because it's solid and it would keep your helmet from coming off, and it works very well. This one, though, with the top missing, would be used in combat and stuff where there's like mines and blasts that can be imminent, because you could put the lug in this, and if you're something the Germans realized in World War II is that lots of people were getting neck injuries and stuff in mines and explosions and things like that, because your helmet is essentially a cup that you're wearing over your head, and it catches that force, that blast and that shock wave from the explosion, and it kind of tries to lift off your head, and if your chin strap is hooked to your head, it's going to try to take your head with it, and that can create an injury. So they did this. They cut the top of this connector off, so that way when the lug is in here, it's still a pretty stable helmet and stuff like that, but if a blast comes off and there's that much force, the lug will pull through this opening and the helmet will come off rather than try to yank your head off, and that'll prevent some injury. And you see that transferred into like the Austrian helmets and stuff like that, and you see versions of it. I mean, it's kind of streamlined down and made out of plastic. In American helmets and everything today, a lot of helmets copied this, but the Germans were just kind of the first to figure everything out. So we'll compare it now to like an American one, and you could see the size differences and stuff. Now, this is an American M1 helmet, and you can immediately see right away the American one is larger, and that's because it has this right here, this removable liner, which isn't as nice as the German one. But this is the final version of the German M1. The German M1s before this had this kind of liner, but it was riveted into the shell like this one, so it wasn't removable like this American one. And don't mind this, because this is the A-yokes for like the paratrooper version. The normal one would just have a chin strap here and here. So the normal German one would have this liner, so the leather chin strap with the 6 webbing pieces, you know, and everything in just one chin strap. It wouldn't have this A-yoke thing that I'm holding onto. This wouldn't be in here, because this is the paratrooper version of the M1. So just imagine that that's not there, and it's just the side chin strap and this normal liner. Is how the original German ones would have looked. And they improved upon it by putting the stahlhelm liner in it, and it makes it way more comfortable than this. The American one is, they always have had troubles with it cutting into your head, and it tends to shake around a lot. This helmet's very loose and stuff because it's so big. It's a one-size-fits-all. Whereas the Germans went into this one, it has 3 sizes. It has like 52 to 55, it has 55 to 57, and I think it has 57 to 59, and then there's like 59 to 63, I think, which will fit pretty much everyone. They have sizes, and that makes a better overall helmet, but at the rate of cost effectiveness, where the Germans could just the Americans could just pump out shell after shell after shell after shell, and there would be no differences between them, and the liner was fully adjustable. If your head was American sizes would be like from size 6 all the way up to like size 9. Okay, whereas I just use metric because every country pretty much uses metric except for us. So if you could, American metric would go from like size 50 all the way up to like size 65. You could adjust it just by adjusting the back of the sweatband. But it ended up being kind of bad in that regard because it created a lot more mess, but it was cost effective and it worked. But the Germans are one of the militaries out there that are really, really obsessed with quality over quantity, and that's probably one of the main reasons they lost World War II. And, well, a lot of people always ask the question, why didn't the Germans just keep using the stahlhelm after World War II? Well, the stahlhelm was associated with the Nazis, even though most of the people in the military in World War II weren't Nazis, all right? They were just everyday Joes fighting for their, homeland. So it's kind of odd to say that it should be associated with the Nazis. That's pretty much just ignorance on everyone's part. But it happened. So they wanted to get away from that image and everything, so they adopted the American M1 design for their helmet. And they continued to use this up until like the 2000s when it was fully replaced by the Schuberth Model 826, which I'll do a video on later if you guys want. But this helmet even continued to be in use long after the Schuberth came out in the mid-80s because it sat around in committee for a long time because the Schuberth looked really, really close to the stahlhelm. And the Germans didn't want to ruffle any feathers or anything by adopting a helmet that looked close to the stahlhelm, even though the United Nations and most of the other countries are like, just do it because you got the design right the first time back in World War I with the 1916 stahlhelm. And it's just the best design we know of so far to date, so why not use it? But the Germans didn't want to have that image be transferred, associated with them again. So they decided to stay with this for a long time, and it took them years and years and years to finally to get over it and just realize that, okay, we're not Nazis anymore. This helmet does, yes, kind of look like a stahlhelm, but it's not. So we're going to use it. It ended up being an effective design, and it was adopted the world over. It's used, the Canadians tested it, the Belgians use it as their standard helmet, the Dutch use it, I think, tons of countries. Switzerland recently just adopted it too as their standard helmet. Pretty much everybody, when Kevlar came out that could afford it, either tested the American Pazgat or the German Schuberth helmet design. And just to test how good the Germans were at designing their helmets even 100 years before those came out, how effective design that stahlhelm was. Now, There were some exceptions to that rule. There were some like German forest troops and game wardens that used a stahlhelm, the M53, which is essentially an M40 stahlhelm with this helmet's liner in it. And they were used by people that were kind of out of the common eye, that people that weren't really associated with the military. So like the fire department had them and stuff like that too, because they had them. You're not going to junk a bunch of stuff that you have if you can save some money somewhere, especially if you're Germany and just lost a giant war for the second time, and you got to make reparations. You got to repair your country. You got to feed your people. You got to boost the economy. So they used what they had while still, trying to maintain an image of, denazification. So there's a lot of history behind this helmet. There's a lot of history behind German helmets in general. And I'll pretty much wrap it up here. Hopefully you guys liked this video. Leave a comment if you want to see anything else. Leave a comment with praise or anything else you guys want to do. If you want to see subjects for future videos or suggest subjects for future videos, go for it. And spread the word about the channel so this information can get out there. We're up to like 7 subscribers now, which is, it could be a lot better. But I'm really happy those 7 people are sticking around so far, and you guys are liking this, and hopefully you're taking some information away from it. So, well, I'll leave it here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.